there, everybody. It's your old pal Black Swan back with another Bible bedtime story. Now, the last bedtime story was a real fucking downer, wasn't it? With all that torture and stuff. So this week, we're going to read a story that's a little more fun. And it's all about lust, infidelity, and murder. That's right. It's the story of David and Bathsheba. Are you ready? Let's begin. David was the king of Israel. In fact, he was the greatest and most awesomest king Israel ever had. He was loved by everybody. The sportos, the motorheads, geeks, sluts, bloods, wastoids, dweebies, dickheads, they all adored him. They thought he was a righteous dude. In the spring, at the time when the kings go off to war, I guess war was like a hobby for kings. Or kind of like playing a game. Only instead of pieces on the board like chess, you use real people and they die. In the spring, King David sent Joab out with all the king's men and all the king's horses and the whole Israelite army. They destroyed the Ammonites. Oh, there's those pesky Ammonites again. And they did a siege at Rabbah. But David remained in Jerusalem. Do you remember what a siege is? That's a way of going to war with a people where you're not killing them directly, but you try and starve them to death very slowly by trapping them inside their city and not letting them get any food. Sometimes they may come out and try and fight you, but then they'll go back inside their city again. Well, one evening, David got up from his bed and walked around to the roof of the palace. From the roof, he saw a woman taking a bath. The Bible said that she was bathing to purify herself from her monthly uncleanness. This is talking about how once a month, people with female reproductive parts have some blood come out of their vaginas. Reproductive parts are the parts of our body we use to make babies. Like you use your eyes to see and your ears to hear, you use your reproductive parts to make babies. This is a normal and healthy thing to happen, and it doesn't make someone unclean. It's called menstruation. This is one of the ways that the Bible denigrates women. Denigration is a big word, isn't it? That means when you make something seem worthless or unpleasant or bad. Now, when you point this out to some Christians, they'll start playing a fun game called Whataboutism. And they'll say, what about all the great women that are in the Bible? Now, it's true, there are some Bible stories that have some really strong and awesome women, like Ruth or Lot's wife Edith. But having some good stories in there doesn't make the bad stuff go away. Silly Christians. Wow, this woman was very beautiful, and she made King David want to put his penis inside her because she was so beautiful. So he sent a man to find out about her. The man came back and said, "She is Bathsheba, the daughter of Elam, and the wife of Uriah the Hittite." Then David sent messengers to go get her. She came to him like he asked, and then he put his penis inside her. Now, the Bible doesn't talk about what Bathsheba wanted. In fact, in this whole story, Bathsheba isn't ever given any agency. Agency here means a person's ability to make choices for themselves and to do or not do what they want. This is another way that the Bible denigrates women. But in this story, Bathsheba is really just doing whatever the king tells her to. She really doesn't have any choice because David is king and very popular and very powerful. So this is really like rape too, because if Bathsheba can't say no, then she can't really give any consent either. In any case, the Bible doesn't tell us what Bathsheba wants, only what David wants. Well, after she went back home, she found out that she was pregnant. That means there was a baby inside her, or was going to be a baby inside her. This was very bad for King David, because Bathsheba's husband was off fighting in the army. So everyone in the kingdom would know that he had put his penis in another man's wife. He needed to find a way to cover up his crimes. Bum, bum, bum. He decided to invite Uriah to come back home from the army for a little while, under the pretense of having him give him a report. A pretense is like an excuse. Then, while he was home, Uriah would put his penis in Bathsheba, and everyone would think the baby belonged to Uriah. Isn't that clever? When Uriah got back from the army, he visited with David, and they chatted about how the fighting was going, and how the soldiers were doing, and who might win in the World Series the next year. Then David told Uriah to go home. But Uriah stayed at the palace and slept with the servants. So King David asked Uriah, "Haven't you just come home from a war? Why don't you go home and bang your hot wife?" Uriah said, "Dude, all my bros are sleeping in tents right now. What kind of a total ass would I be to go home and bang my hot wife when they can't bang theirs? No fucking way, man. I'm straight edge. I'm cooler than that." Well, this certainly was a puzzler for King David. If Uriah wouldn't put his penis in Bathsheba, everyone would know the baby wasn't his. He told Uriah to stay one more night and got him drunk on wine, hoping he would go home and bang Bathsheba. But again, he slept with his servants. He's really a straight-up guy. Then King David had a brilliantest idea. He sent Uriah back into the war with a letter for Joab. In it he wrote, "Put Uriah out in the front where the fighting is the fiercest. Then move all the other soldiers back from him, so he will be sure to be killed." What a great idea! Then Uriah will be gone, David can marry Bathsheba, and he can put his penis in her all he wants. That's very clever, don't you think? So Joab did exactly what King David told him to. Not like he had much of a choice. David is king. And Uriah was killed. The Bible tells us that Bathsheba mourned for him for the appropriate amount of time. Even here, it doesn't tell us what she wanted to do. But it's really hard to imagine she had any choice, isn't it? So after she was done mourning, she went to the palace and David married her. Then the prophet, who you remember is someone who plays make-believe that they talk to God, Nathan came to David and told him a story. Yo, there was this dude who had a shitload of sheep and this other dude who had only one sheep. Then the first dude, who was rich and had lots of sheep, stole a sheep from the other dude, so he had none. And then he killed it and fixed it for dinner so he could entertain his buds. The fucker, King David yelled. Show me where that jackass is and I'll put him to death. Ha ha, shouted Nathan. The rich man is you, motherfucker. You've got like a bazillion wives, but poor Uriah only had one. But you had him killed so you could put your penis in Bathsheba. Now God is going to fuck you over for that. The baby Bathsheba is carrying will die. David said, well, fuck me sideways. And he got very sad. Huh. I wonder why God is going to kill the baby. The baby's not the one that did anything wrong. David is the one that did something wrong. What would you do if you were God? Would you kill the baby? Or would you kill David? Or if you wanted David to stay alive, maybe you could make him lose his kingship? Make somebody else king instead of him? I don't know, but for some reason, God thinks it's good to kill babies. It's almost like the baby didn't have any agency either. Kind of like women and children in the Bible are shown to be possessions of men. Nah, that's just silly. So it all happened just like Nathan said. The first baby born to David and Bathsheba died. Then, to make her feel better, David put his penis inside her again, and she got pregnant again. That way, she wouldn't feel bad about her first baby dying. The second baby's name was Solomon, and there's lots of stories to tell about him. But that's for another time. The end. Well, I hope you enjoyed this story as much as I enjoyed telling it to you. If you liked it, remember to give it a thumbs up. And if you didn't like it, you can thumbs down. That's okay. I still love you. Remember to always be kind to one another. Subscribe, share this video, and sleep well tonight. Have a good night.
The Bible's not for children.
That ought to hold the little bastards for another week.